Jar of Hearts. Jar of Hearts is a scary story about a young man who meets a girl that seems to be very religious. Things start to go wrong when they try to arrange to go out on a date. It is supposed to be a true story. My high school teacher told us a scary story that he claimed was true. He said it happened to a good friend of his that was living in rural Arkansas. One day, the guy was shopping in the supermarket when he happened to bump into a girl in the checkout line. They started talking and seemed to really hit it off. The girl was very pretty and she had a nice personality. She also seemed to be a religious girl, which was exactly the type of girl the guy was looking for. They exchanged numbers, and a few days later, the guy called her. They began to call her every evening, and they would have long conversations that lasted deep into the night. She seemed to be the perfect girl, and the guy started falling head over heels in love with her. The only strange thing was that she ended every phone conversation with a prayer. Eventually, they decided out on a date. The girl called him and told him to come to her house to pick her up on Saturday night. She told him that he had to come at exactly 7:30 p.m. and not a minute later. She said that if he was even a minute late, she would break up with him and he would never see her again. The guy was a little shocked by this, but he really liked the girl, so he agreed to be there at 7:30 sharp. However, the guy coached Little League Baseball on Saturdays, and on that particular Saturday he had a big game. He couldn't get anyone to substitute for him. The game was supposed to end at 7 p.m., and the girl didn't live far away, so if he hurried, he would be there in plenty of time. When Saturday arrived, the guy coached the baseball game, but it lasted longer than expected. The guy was getting a little nervous, but he still figured he had plenty of time. When the game ended, he took a quick shower and changed his clothes. He was just about to leave when disaster struck. He found out that 3 of the kids' parents hadn't arrived to pick them up. He was going to have to drop the kids home. Nobody else could do it. The guy flew into a panic. He really didn't want to miss his date with the nice girl. He told the kids to hop into his car and he drove off as fast as he could. After quickly dropping off the first 2 kids, he decided that the 3rd kid's house was too far away, so he left the kid on the road and begged him to walk home on his own. The guy felt really guilty about it, but he was desperate to get to the girl's house. When he finally arrived at her house, it was almost 8 p.m. He knocked on the front door and a 40-year-old woman answered it. She said she was the girl's mother. She told him the girl was angry that he was late and didn't want to see him. The woman ordered him to go away and leave them alone. The guy tried to apologize and reason with her, but the woman just slammed the door in his face. The guy's heart sank. He went home sad and dejected. A few days later, he was watching the local news when he saw a story about some missing children. A picture of a house flashed up on the TV screen and it looked familiar. He realized it was the girl's house. Just then, there was a knock on the door. When he answered it, he found 2 policemen standing on his doorstep. They asked him if he knew the girl, and when he said he did, they told him they wanted to come inside and ask him some questions. The police informed him they had arrested the girl he had been trying to date. They also arrested the 40-year-old woman who lived with her. The woman was not her mother. The policeman said that the woman and the girl were members of some sort of satanic cult. They were engaging in human sacrifice. When they searched their house, the cops found remains of a number of missing children. There was blood all over the walls and body parts stuffed in the refrigerator. In the basement, they found the creepiest thing of all. It was a jar of hearts labeled with the names of the missing kids. There was also an empty jar beside it. The empty jar also had a label on it. The police told the guy that his name was written on it. It turned out that the girl had invited him out on a date because she wanted to lure him to her house. She insisted that he had to get there at 7:30 p.m. because they were going to kill him in a ritual human sacrifice. The ritual apparently had to be executed at a precise timing. The fact that he turned up late was what saved him from being murdered. Leather wallet. The leather wallet is a scary story about 2 sisters who find a man's wallet on the bus. Inside, they find an odd note written in Latin. This is based on a story from the Philippines. My sister Maria was 1 year older than me. We went to the same boarding school. Every weekend, we were allowed to go home and visit our mother. One Sunday evening, my sister and I went shopping in the city. When we were going home, we caught the bus. Maria found a leather wallet lying on the floor beneath our seat. The wallet was pretty old and it looked like it was worn out. There was $20 inside. I told her we should split the money, but my sister refused. She was always such an honest person. She said we should return the wallet to its rightful owner. When we got home, the house was empty. There was a note on the kitchen table from our mother telling us to behave ourselves while she was away. She had gone on a 2-week holiday with her new boyfriend. Maria opened the leather wallet and started going through the contents. There was a bank card with no name on it, a bus ticket, an old black and white photo of a man, and a folded piece of paper. She took out the paper and looked at it. "What does it say?" I asked. "I don't know," replied Maria. "I think it's in Latin." I grabbed the note and began reading. "Morit viem te salvtamvs, est dexter viem isi right. Ave versus Christus, verum detrevi, vermi est reflexum, arum dry tripum, dextrumi lentanum, ave satani." "No, silly," my sister laughed. "You're pronouncing it all wrong. Don't you know anything? When the Romans were writing down Latin, they used a V instead of a U. Those V's are pronounced like U." "Okay, if you are so smart, then you read it," I replied. Maria snatched the piece of paper from my hands and read it aloud. "What does it mean?" I asked. "I have no idea," she replied. "We studied Latin in school, but I don't recognize any of the words." She tucked the paper back into the leather wallet and left it on her bedside table, telling me she would hand it in to the police station next week. During the night, as I was drifting off to sleep, I heard Maria suddenly jump out of bed and run into the bathroom. She was retching and vomiting into the toilet. Shocked, I climbed out of bed and went to see if she was all right. I found her bent over the toilet bowl, supporting herself with one hand. She was crying. "What happened?" I asked. "Maria, what's wrong with you?" She didn't answer and just waved me away. I had to sit down. It seemed like I was in a terrible nightmare. I kept expecting to wake up and find out that she was still alive. Sadly, that was not to be. I packed a change of clothes and went home straight away. When I got to the house, I saw that our gate was open and there were several people gathered around. My mom was standing in the driveway, crying and holding a piece of paper in her hands. "Mom, what happened?" I asked, bursting into tears. My mother embraced me and held me tight. "Maria died. She's been dead for 13 days. I found her under the bed. Her body was rotting. The smell was unbearable. Where were you? Why didn't you find her?" I was shaking. A chill went down my spine. Who was it that was with me the last time I went home? Who was it that slept in the bed beside me? I looked over and saw our neighbor standing in his yard. His dog was sitting at his feet. The same dog Maria had said was dead and causing such a stink. Nobody knows what happened to my sister. It's still a huge mystery. I suspected it had something to do with the note she had read in Latin. I tried to find a translation online. According to my research, this is what the words mean. More TVM means death, salve TMVS means to salute or give honor. Trevi means life, AV VRS VS Christ TVS means hail, the Antichrist reflex VM means reflection. Dextar VMI Lent and VM means there will be a wake after 13 days. AV Satani means hail Satan. In other words, it's a satanic incantation, a black magic spell. According to what I've read, it is used by people who want to die. They recite the spell to make a pact with Satan, to offer their souls up to the devil. After reading the incantation, they slowly waste away and die. Within 13 days, you will see the person who spoke the words, but in truth, they will only be a reflection of their former selves. A ghost. Then, after 13 days, their dead body will resurface. There is one thing that still baffles me. I read the note too. Why didn't it affect me? Why didn't I suffer the same fate as my beloved sister? Could it have been the way I read it? Perhaps my ignorance of the Latin language saved my life. But wait a minute. When you were reading this, did you read the Latin words? Did you read it wrong like I did? I hope so. I hope you didn't read it correctly. Did you?